let's get it.
I bet. What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters. Today is Tuesday, September 27th. I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Eric. How you feeling today, brother?
I'm feeling great, man. Glad to be here. Glad to get another week under our belts. This one was a little bit frustrating for me. I don't know about you. But yeah, fantasy is getting crazy.
This whole season has been kind of just weird and frustrating, honestly. It's just been a weird year.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I guess we're going to go ahead and get into some news for you guys, give you a sort of recap over the weekend, and we're going to go ahead and jump into some news and just some injury news, starting off with Myles Garrett in a non-football injury situation, got into a single car accident. He was actually trying to avoid an animal, is what I saw. So ended up swerving, and his Porsche flipped multiple times. But Myles Garrett is a tank of a man, and his injuries were considered minor. He's already been discharged from the hospital, and it's not life-threatening. Whether that means he'll play football or not, whether this is something that's going to affect his football, we're going to find out soon. I guess the team will still have to evaluate him and whatnot, but it's not really a concern of mine, honestly. I am just glad he's okay. It's always scary to hear about stuff like this, especially single car accidents. But yeah, it's just good to hear that he's okay, honestly.
Yeah, this one was definitely worrisome because, like, the initial report, we didn't have any news on his condition. I guess we heard that it was probably not life-threatening almost immediately, but yeah, it's definitely scary to hear. I'm so glad that the news is positive with him.
Hell yeah. And then getting into some football injuries, we got Mac Jones over the weekend, suffered a severe high ankle sprain is what they're calling it. They're still deciding on whether or not he's going to get surgery to correct this issue or whether he'll be able to just kind of recover and tough it out through the rest of the season. But I guess this sort of has a lot of implications. There's always a lot of implications when the starting quarterback goes down. So you want to talk about that one a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, so it sounds like regardless of whether he gets the surgery or not, he's probably going to miss multiple weeks. If he does get the surgery, it's going to last longer. If he doesn't, obviously then you got to worry about pain tolerance and risk of re-injury. But yeah, as far as implications for the rest of the team, I really didn't want much to do with their pass catchers to begin with. Jacoby Myers had looked pretty decent. And then, he wasn't available for this game. Devonte Parker actually had a big game, but I'm not counting on him to do that again, especially not if Mac Jones is missing time. It sounds like Brian Hoyer is probably going to be the fill-in at quarterback.
The journeyman.
I think, yeah, he's been around. I want to hear your opinion. I think that this might not have a huge effect on the running backs, if maybe even giving them a slight boost. I just think they're going to have to rely on them really heavily. Especially Ramadri Stevenson, while Ty Montgomery is still on IR. I think there could be a lot of dump-offs to the running backs.
Yeah, I think this is honestly like, it's like what you said. I don't think it's too much of an upgrade for a running back like Damien Harris because regardless, his role in the offense is what it is. But for Ramadri Stevenson, I think, like you said, this could be pretty huge because Brian Hoyer, big dump-off guy. They're going to have to rely on these running backs more so because this group is one of the more talented groups on the team. I'm not going to say that they're more talented than the wide receiver group just because
wide receiver group. Say that. I think you could say it.
Yeah.
Pretty definitively.
I just, they're professionals at the same time, but it is what it is at the end of the day. It's sort of the same situation we got going on with the Packers in terms of just skill groups and their, the drop-off between them. But Mac Jones to Brian Hoyer is a downgrade. But at the same time, it's not a huge downgrade. It's not like they're two different styles of quarterback either. It's just more so, like you said, they're going to be leaning more on the running backs to carry them through games. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, I think it's important that you brought up the Damien Harris kind of differentiation there. That's probably true. Damien Harris has been relying on touchdowns to get most of his fantasy points. He hasn't been super efficient, hasn't been racking up a lot of yards. And Ramondre has definitely been more involved in the passing game. So I think that's important to note, that Damien might actually take a slight downgrade, and maybe Ramondre takes a slight bump. So
yeah, just something to keep an eye on at least to see. But the good thing is Mac Jones isn't like a super mobile quarterback, so it's not like this is a extremely hampering injury maybe a few weeks from now, but it all stands to be seen. And the Chargers are fucked.
Yeah, their franchise seems to be cursed, dude. They can't go a full season without some craziness going on. We'll run through their gauntlet of injuries. Obviously, Justin Herbert is still dealing with his rib cartilage issue.
Hmm.
Keenan Allen still dealing with his hamstring issue. I heard from the coaching staff that he will be practicing this week,
Hmm.
but they're still not sure if he's going to be game ready. Jalen Guyton tore his ACL this week. Just another receiver going down. Rashawn Slater, dude, their franchise left tackle tore his bicep in this
Yeah,
game and is likely done for the season. That one hurts really
that
bad.
hurts. That's
Corey
terrible.
Lindsley, yeah, Corey Lindsley was already out for this week. I'm still. Do you have any sort of timeline on his recovery? I haven't heard when he's supposed to be back.
I've I
Um,
I don't even know if they've given it a designation. Is he day to day? Is he week to week? I think
that's
he's
that's what I think. Yeah,
I think he's day to day, which literally means nothing in terms of a
right.
timeline. I can try to see what I can dig up, but I they haven't talked about it a whole lot.
Yeah, so regardless, two of their best offensive linemen are down. And then also Joey Bosa on the defensive side of the ball goes down with a groin strain that they're saying is pretty severe. This team went from close to top of the league. I thought they had one of the most talented rosters top to bottom, one of the best chances to get to the Super Bowl. And now, I don't know. They're going to be fighting just to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's just it's like you said, or even like we talked about. You never really know how injuries are going to shape out, so you never really know how a team is going to shape out. But it's sad to see this happen with the Chargers and just such a potent team that they were supposed to be going into this season. It's just yeah, it sucks to see. The one thing is though, and this is just sort of just me being a little ridiculous. It's it's kind of I'm not gonna say it's cool, but it's I don't know how to phrase this. Derwin James isn't on this injury report, and that's something we haven't seen in years. So that's
That's
always
that's positive.
yeah.
That's good.
There's a silver lining there, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Love Derwin. He's an amazing athlete, an amazing safety. He's still on the field. That's good.
that took
We'll take some positives out of this.
yeah, man. It took me a long time to figure out how I was gonna say that.
Glass half full, baby.
Hell
That's
yeah,
all.
hell yeah.
And then into the next piece of news, Dalvin Cook appears to have dislocated his shoulder once again. Dislocated slash sublexed shoulder subluxation. I don't know. I don't know all the crazy medical terms for that, but they're saying they did it again. The Vikings are calling him day to day, and that if he were to play, which it sounds like they're expecting him to,
Mm-hmm.
he's going to play with that same shoulder harness that he wore last year when he redislocated his shoulder. This is one he's played through it before, and he's played great through this injury before. But this is definitely getting more and more concerning the more often he does this. This is something that we talked about in the off season, where just from like a medical standpoint, with these shoulder dislocations, the more times you do it, the more likely it is to do it more frequently again in the future. And also, like the more serious the injury becomes, the longer the recovery timetable, all this stuff. So, what's your take on him for the rest of the season?
It's just gonna be something he's literally gonna be dealing with for the rest of the season. It's like you said, once it happens once, it's gonna kind of keep happening. This has been a shoulder he's had an issue with for damn near a decade at this point.
Yeah.
It's just a continuous issue. That shoulder is essentially a Lego piece at this point. If it gets hit hard enough, it's going to pop out. But they're always going to pop it back in. Like you said, we've seen him wear this shoulder harness before, and we've seen him pop off. Like he's had some of his best games with this shoulder harness on. But it's
Yeah.
just it's worrisome. But it's not more worrisome than anyone ever really is about Dalvin Cook. It sucks to see, but it's something that happens as literally as someone who's had Dalvin Cook on a fantasy team for the last 5 years, it always happens at some point in the season. I'm not really
Yeah.
freaking out. It just is what it is. It's the territory.
It just sucks that it happened this early in the season because, like you said, now he's going to be dealing with it for the remainder of the season if they keep trying to play him, which obviously they're going to do. Because if he tries to get surgery to repair it, then he's likely going to be done for months. So yeah, I think it's pretty cut and dry. If he's playing, you play him. It's risky because at any point he could get hit and be out for the game, be out for weeks, whatever. But you're not going to not play Dalvin Cook. He's just that good. And I think this makes Alexander Mattison even more important. If you didn't already have him as your handcuff, I think it's really important to try to go snatch him up. We had talked about like there's a possibility that he wasn't the clear handcuff in this offense this offseason. That appears to not be the case. He's the guy. He's going to be the fill-in if Dalvin goes down. So he's really valuable right now.
Yeah, fucking welcome to Dalvin Cook ownership to anybody out there with Dalvin Cook. It's literally a yearly occurrence, but like Eric said, this usually happens around like week 10. But the fact it's happening week 3, not great.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of shoulder injuries, but one that's a little bit less severe. By a little bit, I mean a lot less severe. We got Deandre Swift. He's dealing with a shoulder sprain. He's likely to be out for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of sucks to see. I like DeAndre Swift. I think he's extremely talented. I also think he's kind of fragile, if that's a word. You know?
Yeah, he's had an issue staying on the field. I hate throwing around the term injury prone because injuries just happen in football, but it really does seem like, guys like DeAndre Swift just aren't on the field, or it happens to them more often, I guess is what I'm saying. I think you're right in saying that the shoulder sprain is less severe, but for whatever reason, I guess for good reasons, they're holding him out for 2 weeks where Dalvin is likely to play. I think that this will give his ankle also time to heal because he's been dealing with that the last couple of weeks. So hopefully he'll be 100% when he does come back to the team. But I think we should bring up Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams has been balling, even with DeAndre Swift on the field. Week 1, I wasn't super bought in. He got the 2 touchdowns, but not very many opportunities, not a lot of yardage. And it also just seemed kind of situational where DeAndre Swift would break off like a big run and get tackled inside the 5, and then they bring in Jamal because DeAndre's tired. But I don't know. It seems like he continues to vulture these red zone carries. Obviously, in these 2 weeks, he's going to be really valuable. I think he's in the RB1 territory for the next 2 weeks. But once DeAndre Swift comes back, what do we think about Jamal Williams' rest of season?
Rest of season, Jamal Williams might be a decent flex play, honestly, with whether DeAndre Swift is on the field or not. Because like you said, they want him involved with this team. They're giving him the red zone carries. It's like Swift doesn't really score unless it's from 10, 15 yards out at least. But every once in a while, it's just, it depends on what this Lions team wants to do, because this team is actually kind of shaping out to be good,
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least the offense is. The defense is kind of shit, but that's what you want from a fantasy team, or from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, you want your guys to go out there on offense. You want them to play. You want them to be on the field a lot. You want them throwing for a lot of yards and running for a lot of yards.
And a lot of scoring opportunities, which, they've been in the red zone a ton. So
yeah, they've been doing it. So this is turning out to be a potent offense. So this is one that you kind of want the major pieces on, and Jamal Williams is shaping up to be one of those major pieces. So it's just, whether Swift is on the field or not, he's worth at least a consideration.
Yeah. So into our next piece of injury news, David Montgomery. He went down. I haven't seen any definitive reporting on exactly what the injury that he's dealing with is. I've seen it listed as ankle/knee. The team says he's going to be day-to-day. Another day-to-day listing again. We don't really know what that means. I'm kind of expecting him to miss at least 1 week, but it's still early. Definitely something to monitor going forward. But man, Khalil Herbert popped the fuck off this week after he went down.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert. Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about before. Khalil Herbert's kind of the better running back in this offense.
I think he might be.
Yeah.
I think he might be. Not from a pass catching perspective. I think David Montgomery is probably a little bit more well-rounded than Khalil Herbert. But when Montgomery went down, Herbert got involved a little bit in the passing game, in the non-existent passing game of the Bears, by the way. But he was fairly involved. And yeah, he looked fantastic. He was crazy efficient. I don't know. Another situation here where the top running back goes down. Eventually they're going to come back healthy. What do you think is going to happen when D-Mont comes back? Does this turn into a committee, or does D-Mont keep that solidified number one role?
I got a feeling this is going to turn into a committee. Honestly,
Yeah,
this team is such a shit show to begin with. But at the same time, why risk your assets like that? Why give David Montgomery that full bell cow role on this team that's not really going to go anywhere, you know? So, but Khalil Herbert, his performance and the way he played, if I'm a coach, that's not somebody that I have just sitting on the bench. You know what I'm saying?
percent. Yeah,
Especially if I have the opportunity to play him. It's not even like a, because I know a lot of people might even think of what's the guy's name? I'm forgetting his name. The third string running back for the Browns.
Dearness Johnson or Jerome Ford?
Dearness Johnson. Because
Okay,
anytime
yeah,
he gets an opportunity, he always does well too. But he's one of
he
those
balls.
guys that's never going to really be in that huge rotation because he's the third stringer. But this is an opportunity where it's like almost a 1A, 1B type of situation because both of these running backs are talented. They're close to each other on the depth chart. They're both similar ages. It just kind of makes sense that you would want to roll forward with both of them, especially when both are as efficient as they. Well, not efficient, but when both are as talented as they are.
No, I totally agree with you. I also threw in here this, like I said, this passing offense has been abysmal. They're just not throwing the ball, and even when they do, it's not very effective. Darnell Mooney, I think, is probably droppable in all redraft formats.
Oh yeah, any receiving asset from this offense. Cole Kmet, you want to drop him too? Go for it.
Yeah,
You've had him for 3
it's
weeks. What has he done?
it's so sad, dude. It's so sad. Mooney, like, it doesn't even make any sense either, right? Because, like, Mooney with Justin Fields or with Andy Dalton last year was, like, popping off. He had huge games.
Mm-hmm.
And then the new coaching staff comes in, and, like, obviously, yeah, the offensive line isn't very good. They're probably trying to protect Fields. They don't want him to throw a ton because he's just going to get sacked. But, man, like, this is nuts. He's throwing, like, 8 times a game, or completing, like, 8 passes a game. It's ridiculous.
I had checked because this wasn't a game that I watched live because I'm probably never gonna watch a Bears game live. But
No.
but I had gone to check on the stats for this in like the third or fourth quarter because I was watching Khalil Herbert because I have him on the bench. And I
Yeah.
was like, why Justin Fields has 90 yards right now? And it's like the fourth quarter. What is going on? I don't understand what brand of
Yeah.
football they're playing over there where your running back can have more yards than your quarterback
Like,
easily.
more often than not.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably going to continue going forward, dude.
It's
Doesn't make any sense to me.
It's insane, and I kind of hope to see different because I want to see Justin Fields do well. I got a couple Justin Fields rookie cards. I'd hope they sort of pan out a little bit, but
I got him on my dynasty team. It's not looking hot, man.
no,
Not looking good.
it's not looking great at all. But yeah, Khalil Herbert. If you don't have him already, or someone in your league for some reason doesn't have him on a team, pick him up. It's the easiest
Yeah,
pickup.
100%.
It's a number one waiver wire priority for the week. Yeah, pick him up.
Yep, totally agree. A little bit of Saints injury news. These don't seem too severe. Michael Thomas sustained a foot injury during the game. I don't think he's expected to miss time. Jarvis Landry also hurt his ankle. This seems to be minor as well. Don't think that they're going to miss any time, but I do want to discuss Chris Olave, who balled out once again. He turned all of those crazy unrealized air yards into actual yards this week, going for what, almost 150?
Yeah,
I think
he popped off. I think it was 141, I believe. Let me check.
Yeah. But that's back-to-back weeks with over a 30% target share. This is a guy, one of those, all these rookies, we hoped would break out later on into the season, but they're all doing it early. Drake London, Garrett Wilson, and now Chris Olave. They're turning into the ones in their offense earlier than we expected, it seems like.
Yeah, and I think this is something we kind of talked about last week going into this week. Was like that was something to keep an eye out for. Look out for Chris Olave. If he's not owned in your league, pick him up because the stats kind of don't lie. Last week we saw a lot of unrealized stats, a lot of what people would call intangibles, But this week we actually got to see them when they come to fruition, and we got to see how talented this guy is, and Jameis likes throwing on the ball, so hopefully that just turns into more good things for Chris Olave going forward.
Yeah, I do want to point out we had him in our buy low category last week, so that's check one on the board for us. Killing it so far. couple more injuries to get through. Trent Williams suffered a high ankle sprain, likely to miss 4 to 6 weeks. This is a big blow for San Francisco. Probably the best offensive lineman in the league still. He goes down. I don't even know who their backup is. I don't think that he's a quality backup. Jimmy G obviously struggled this week. He looked like shit. Was under pressure quite a bit to begin with. So without Trent, it's going to be rough, I think.
He looked like Jimmy G, honestly. I can't even say he looked like shit. He just looked like Jimmy G. Some games he's gonna win. Some games he's just gonna go out there and do nothing, which is, I guess, kind of why they were trying to move away from him. But yeah, Trent Williams going down is never a good sign for your team whatsoever. You kind of don't realize he's one of those guys you don't realize how much he does until he's gone.
Yeah.
And when he's not there anymore, as Washington fans, we got the very, very hard lesson of that. A very hard lesson.
Yeah. I miss him, man. I miss him.
But, yeah, I do too, dude. He was so good. But for him to be out 4 to 6 weeks, not great for any fantasy prospects on the 49ers. But that's not to say don't touch the 49ers, but it's going to be, I'd say, temper your expectations for sure.
Kyle Shanahan's going to figure it out. They'll be fine. It's just Jimmy G's going to have less time, and maybe in the running game, they won't have as many holes. But we can move on to the next thing, which this was wild to me. The Tua ghost concussion, like they're not saying that it was a concussion. People are trying to report that it was back spasms acting up when he was stumbling all over the field. Why the fuck did they let him back in the game after that? That was nuts.
It's just the NFL being the NFL, baby. We're back in full season form, baby. Don't say, hey, knock it off with that C word, bro. We don't say that around here. That's taboo. We don't say that word around here. He just had he was just confused for a second. That's it. He just couldn't tell if he was standing or laying down. He just didn't know which one he
just forgot where the ground was.
Yeah, he's just in a silly, goofy mood. That's it. But yeah, this Tua concussion was. As someone who's literally done the exact thing that Tua did in terms of getting up and just meeting the ground immediately and realizing you have a concussion, he probably has a concussion. But, I mean, you could have concussion symptoms and not be concussed as well. I know, like, you and I, we both have CPR sort of concussion protocol training that we've gone through before. It's sort of a shit show with trying to figure it out, so we always err on the side of caution. But
exactly.
They
not the NFL though, dude. No. Not when it's a quarterback.
Not when it's a quarterback. Not when it's a close game. It's just he shouldn't have been out there at all.
No.
And
no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was just saying it's going to be interesting how they roll forward with this because everyone is looking at them now and they're like, "What are y'all doing?"
Right. That's what I was going to bring up is the NFLPA, I think, is already putting this under investigation for their handling of the situation. So, obviously I want these guys to play, but not at the cost of their health and their body. He was fucked up. He should not have been out there. So, I hope that the NFLPA is right about this and there's a punishment handed down. Yeah,
because it's not even at the cost of their body, at the cost of their life. This is a brain injury, dude. And it's just to keep him back out there because it's like, oh, yeah, he throws the ball real good. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. But I guess we're going to see. This season has been so dramatic. I fucking love it. Next on the news, we got one of the more... it's kind of a heartbreaking injury, honestly. When I saw it, I kind of knew. I was like, yeah, he's done. He's absolutely done. He's not coming back, especially because of where he grabbed. Because from where he grabbed, I kind of figured what it was going to be. But to see it confirmed here, it's just kind of haunting. But you got Sterling Shepard, who appears to have suffered a season-ending injury last night. It was a non-contact injury. It was while he was just running down the field, and his patellar tendon just snapped. It tore.
I don't know that that's totally confirmed yet. I don't think that we've gotten definitive news, but that's what all of the Twitter doctors that I've seen have been speculating. I've seen a couple people say maybe ACL, but most of what I've seen is that they're thinking it's a patellar tendon tear.
Yeah, it's like I'm no doctor, but I do know the patellar tendon is right underneath the kneecap. Because for those of you who don't know, your kneecap really isn't attached to any other bone in your body. It's just got a bunch of ligaments and tendons around it that just keep it in place. But that patellar tendon is the one that's right underneath of the knee, and when he goes to grab his leg, he grabs underneath of his knee. So that's why I was like, oh, that's a patella injury right there, or patellar tendon injury. But still has to be confirmed. But I just don't think he's coming
So
back.
sad.
Yeah, and it
No,
sucks to see.
it sucks so much because like he's gone through so many major injuries. He's had an ACL tear and come back from it. He just last season had like a late season Achilles tear and was
Hmm.
coming back and was balling. He was the number one option, it seemed like, in the passing game. He got another 10 targets this game after another double digit target game last week. He was balling. And yeah, for him to go down with another season ending injury is just heartbreaking, man. It sucks.
Yeah, it really does. He's just so talented, but I guess stands to be seen. We'll see what the official tests come through and say, but don't be surprised if that alert comes through and says he's done for the season because that's certainly what it looked like.
Yeah.
And rolling back into just a little bit more, I guess, positive news, we got Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones came out, I believe, yesterday and said that Dak is looking like he may be able to make a return by week 5, saying that everything's healing. There's no real swelling or inflammation going on, so it appears to be on track to heal properly, and he'll be back by week 5. What do you think about that, Eric?
I never trust Jerry Jones, dude.
Nope.
He's an injury optimist. He's always trying to get his guys back out on the field, regardless of whether it's good for them or not.
I just don't
I don't know,
understand
man.
why they would want to rush him back to the field. They're 2-1.
Yeah, your franchise quarterback. You're 2-1. Cooper Rush. Obviously Dak is better than Cooper Rush, but he's been playing well in his absence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't get why you would rush your franchise guy back like this. I don't see the point. Your team isn't very good. I mean, you're 2-1, so I guess as an NFL organization, you're not just going to give up when you have a decent record. But yeah, I feel like they should wait. I feel like maybe week 5 is going to end up being earlier than when he actually gets back, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, but it's like you said, Jerry Jones kind of says whatever over there in Jerry Land. And then to round things out, we got the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Went down with an ankle injury over the weekend, and they checked it out. This alert actually came through about an hour ago as of us recording this podcast. But they're saying it's possible he could miss time, but overall, the results that they got back were encouraging and positive. So, yeah, he may not miss time, but it's just something to keep an eye on, certainly for sure. And this may bump up some other people in that offense for you, at least for the week going into it.
Yeah, he had this ankle injury, and then he actually came back and
Mm-hmm.
continued to play for the rest of the game. He definitely wasn't as effective. He seemed hampered by it, but I think that that's probably encouraging that he was able to at least get back out there and play on it. So even if he does miss time, it's probably only going to be like a week. So good to hear on that front. So that will wrap up all of our news and injuries from last week. I know it was a lot. Thank you for sticking with us. We get on to our fantasy recap of week 3. We're going to start with our studs and duds. Do you want to go positive or negative first, Will? What are you feeling today?
Oh, bro, let's always start positive because the negative is what's going to be entertaining.
Facts. All right, bet. So let's start us out with the studs at the quarterback position. Lamar motherfucking Action Jackson, baby, with another 40 bomb.
Pay him. Pay him. Pay him. Pay him. He has the most touchdowns. He's got the 4th most rushing yards in the league as a quarterback. Pay him.
Yeah.
Pay him. If Kyler's getting paid, pay him. Kyler
Yeah.
sucks compared to Lamar. I'm sorry. Pay him.
They had their chance, man. They had their chance to write him a blank check, and whatever he would have written down would have been less 3 weeks ago. The price keeps going up.
Dog, and meanwhile, you got the tickler. He's got a fully guaranteed contract. He's not even playing.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's wild. The Browns are a joke. I don't know what the fuck that was about. But yeah, Lamar Jackson is by far and away the number 1 fantasy asset so far this season. In terms of quarterbacks, 2 other guys that are also in the studs category, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, who both balled in their own right. Those guys both have right around 85 fantasy points on the year. Lamar Jackson has over 100 already through the first 3 weeks. He is absolutely insane. So you love to see it. So we got Lamar, Hurts, Allen, which I mentioned, and then sliding in there, Trevor Lawrence, man, had himself a fantastic week this week.
Dog, my boy Sunshine coming back through. You kind of love to see it, dude, because it's like
Yeah.
he's this dude that they said was a generational talent, and everyone was so ready. Not everyone, because I wasn't, you weren't,
A lot of
but
a lot of people were ready to write him off, yeah.
yeah, a lot of people were ready to say he was going to be a bust, and it's like, no, he's not. This Jaguars team is different this year because they actually have competent coaching for the first time, and I don't know when. I saw something that said that Doug Peterson last week had tied Urban Meyer for most franchise wins by a Jaguars coach, like fourth or fifth most franchise wins by a Jaguars
Fifth all
coach.
time, I think. Yeah.
And if that doesn't speak volumes as to what Trevor Lawrence kind of has been dealing with in terms of coming into this franchise, yeah. But it's good to see that they're actually thriving now, and he's looking like an NFL quarterback now, you know?
Yeah.
It's good to see.
Yeah, and what's cool is not only for him is it great to see him performing and being a valuable fantasy asset, but also just this offense as a whole is really rolling, and they got a lot of guys that are fantasy producers that are kind of, I don't know, under the radar right now. Obviously, Christian Kirk, sliding in. He's slithering.
You already know we said Christian Kirk, baby.
Fuck yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah,
we called
did.
that shit.
Dog.
He was a value in drafts. We said to go snatch him. I hope you did because you were loving it right now. But yeah, Christian Kirk, obviously he's been popping off. People know about him, but Zay Jones is quietly getting a ton of the target share, putting up big points. Old guy Marvin Jones is actually doing decent. I wouldn't prioritize him, but he's doing fine. James Robinson off the Achilles tear, fucking balling. 3 straight weeks. Travis Etienne's actually looking okay. I think he's looking pretty explosive when he touches the ball. He's just not getting a ton of looks after J-Rob. But man, this offense is looking good.
Yeah, Etienne is he's shaping out to look almost like a gadget guy in this offense right now. Just because J-Rob has been doing as well as he has been, they haven't needed him at running back. They've been kind of find more creative ways to use him, which I think is kind of cool. But I wish he was more involved. I wish he was back there at running back. But to see J-Rob come off this Achilles and just ball out the way he has also been just awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sick.
This dude is he's the epitome. He's the picture of a comeback or just a good story in the NFL. Like undrafted.
Underdog story, yeah.
Balling out, tears an Achilles. They think he's done, comes back, still balling out.
Yeah. That's wild. We can get into our studs at the running back position. Leading the way, Khalil Herbert with a 30-point week. He absolutely balled out after David Montgomery went down, which we talked about earlier. Again, I'll reiterate, probably the number one waiver priority ad if he's out there. I feel like he's not going to be out there in most people's leagues. You got to have a pretty shallow bench and maybe even like a 10-teamer for him to be available. But if for whatever reason he is out there, go snatch him up. Another guy that we talked about in a similar fashion, Jamal Williams. Because Deandre Swift is going to be out for at least a couple weeks, Jamal Williams is going to slot right in. They're going to get a ton of red zone opportunities. Their offense is balling, so he's going to be super valuable. King Henry put himself back on the map with over 20 points. He also, I think, did he have 5 receptions this game?
Yeah, he did. He definitely had 5 receptions
crazy.
This game.
Where did that come from?
I think it's more of that trend that's continuing from last year. I think this team has seen how unsuccessful they've been with not getting him more involved in these games because he hasn't really been great out the backfield carrying the ball until this game. So getting him more involved in the passing, starting to get him going, wearing down on defenses more. I think I'm not going to say King Henry's back yet, but it's very encouraging going forward. I will also say just real quick, check for Khalil Herbert because he's only rostered in 25% of leagues in ESPN.
25%? Are you serious?
Yeah, he's rostered in 25.2% of leagues on ESPN. So
damn, yeah, snatch him up.
Spend some fab. I wouldn't go crazy on the fab, but I mean, if you did, I wouldn't be mad at you either because he's going to be a pretty good asset going forward.
Yeah, this turns into a committee once David Montgomery comes back. I think it's worth 25% of fab. I guess it also depends on what you've spent so far throughout the season, but if you got a good bit left, I'd spend a decent amount on him.
Yeah, so definitely check. It's only 25% of leagues. But yeah,
Uh,
hopefully it's good signs for King Henry. And then I'm sorry.
yeah. No, you're good. Cordell Patterson had himself another big week. I still am not sure what's real and what's not. Like, obviously, Cordell Patterson is crazy talented. When he does get the ball and he's given the opportunity, he's gonna ball. Like, I think he's really good. I don't think that's in question. But his role in this offense seems weird. Week 1, he had the blow up. This week, he had the blow up. Last week, Tyler Algier seemed to be the main guy. I don't really know what's going on here.
Yeah, they're just kind of doing whatever over there at the Falcons, honestly. I think, and it's kind of weird to say, but I feel like Arthur Smith is just kind of giving everybody sort of a tryout to see how they're doing. That's how it feels, because even for the first couple of weeks, Kyle Pitts wasn't involved until this week, and we know by and far he's the best player on that team. So it's like, to not have him involved, what are you doing? So, I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of this Falcons team, to be honest with you. I don't know what to make of Cordell Patterson.
They're doing all right though.
Yeah.
Like they're looking like a decent team. They're hanging in these games with tough opponents. I'm excited to see what they got going forward.
Yeah, they've definitely been staying in games for sure. Like they're not getting blown out by anybody, which I thought they would, but they've been hanging in there. And then just to sort of round out this group, we got Saquads back again. Like we said, he's one of the best running backs in fantasy. He's a top 5 value. He was getting disrespected. He's probably a top 3 value, maybe a top 1 value in the season. We'll see.
Fuck yeah. Let's go, Saquon. Goddamn right, baby. Love to see it.
We told y'all
Continue.
We told y'all to snatch him up if you had the chance. He's just cooking out there, man. He's highly involved. This is his offense. Danny Jones is just there. We got Ramadri Stevenson, like we talked about earlier, kind of had a boom week, doing well. Hopefully he continues this going forward. I think his role should be sort of more carved out going forward, especially with Ty Montgomery out. So Ramadri Stevenson, somebody to keep a huge eye on. Possibly consider starting him if you have him on your teams. And then we got Nick Chubb to round things out as well. Had a great game. Who did they play this week? What did the Browns play? Why am I forgetting? The Steelers.
The Steelers on Thursday
night game. Yeah. Had a good game that week, too. So, It's just Nick Chubb doing what Nick Chubb does. We figured he wasn't going to be too affected by this quarterback situation, and he hasn't been because he just runs the ball. That's what he does, man. So.
Yeah. In half PPR formats, he's still the number 1 overall running back. I think in PPR, Saquon has overtaken him. But it's neck and neck. They're both around 61, 62 points. So pretty encouraging to see there. We can toss it into the wide receiver studs. We got the Slim Reaper, Devonte Smith, baby, going off. Him and A.J. Brown both had really good games. Goddard even got involved. This offense in Philly is nasty.
Dog, I knew Devonte Smith was having a really good game because, one, he was playing Washington this week. But it was just so exciting seeing him go up because he was making some crazy contested catches, too. It's not like no one was around him on any of these. Like, he had to go up and get them 9 times out of 10.
He's playing big boy football out there.
Yeah, he's out there hooping.
He said, what BMI?
The Slim Reaper out there cooking, absolutely torching defenses. It's kind of cool to see, man, because it's what we had talked about going into the season. It should have been a 1A, 1B situation between him and A.J. Brown. It didn't quite look like that, especially week 1. Week 2, it started to look a little bit more like it was even between the two, but this week we got to see, these are 2 incredibly talented guys. And it's just a matter of who Jalen Hurts is getting the ball to that day, honestly, who gets open first. And these guys are proving that they're just both animals.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I want to say out of nowhere, but he's actually had a decent couple weeks. Mac Hollins goes off. I believe he was the number 2 receiver on the week, just behind Devonte Smith. Out-targeting and out-producing both Darren Waller and Devontae Adams. In another Raiders loss, the Raiders are now the only 0-3 team in the league. What a shit show.
Yeah.
Are you buying into Mac Hollins? I think at this point he's definitely got to be on your radar, and he's probably worth a pickup.
Hell yeah! If people think that Hunter Renfro is worth the roster spot, I don't see why Mac Hollins wouldn't be in this offense, especially with how they've been using him. So it's like, I'd consider looking at him for picking him up, having him as a flex option, anything like that.
I think that's worth mentioning, though, is that Hunter Renfro was out this past week with a concussion, which might have contributed to Mac Hollins' escalated role. But even when Hunter Renfro's been on the field, he's still been involved, just to a slightly lesser capacity. So we'll see what he's got going forward. Hollywood, baby. Marquis Brown, the guy that I was hyping up all offseason, is finally getting what he's due. 17 targets.
Dog,
He's just feed him.
It's about fucking time, dude. You're throwing the ball to goddamn, and this is no disrespect, bro. This is no disrespect, but fucking Greg Dortch. Come on, man. Come on.
Hey, the kid's good. Kid's
good.
good.
And that's what I'm saying. I can't really be mad because he's out there. He's still catching them. It's not like he's got 13 targets and 0 catches. He's got 13 targets with like 10 catches most of the time. But Marquis Brown, I'm just upset because I benched Marquis Brown this week because I was like, fuck this guy. He's not doing anything. And he finally gets a boom week, but that's very encouraging going forward. It shows that this chemistry is there, but for some reason they just didn't really take advantage of it for the first 2 weeks. I could kind of see it last week, though, because I know you didn't really watch a whole lot of this game, last week's game, right? But going into overtime, whenever a lot of plays where it's like, we need a big play, we need somebody that we're going to on this, it was always Marquis Brown, which confused me because, like, you would think it'd be Greg Dortch with as many targets as he's been getting these past few weeks. But Marquis finally got his due. Finally.
I do want to say, like, it's encouraging to see that he was able to put up such a big week without any explosive plays. Like, it was all quick passes, hitches, stuff like that. They did uncork one deep bomb to him, and Kyler overthrew him. So if he had caught that one, that was going to be another, like, 50 yards and a touchdown added on to what he had already done. I'm hoping that they try to involve that more often because it seems like everything's around the line of scrimmage for the Cardinals so far this season. Hopefully they get a little bit more explosive going forward. These last 3 guys we'll run through fairly quickly. Amari Cooper had himself another good week after week 2 impressive performance. Do you think this continues going forward? I find it hard to trust Amari Cooper, especially when Jacoby is throwing him the ball, but he's looked good. A lot of targets too.
I have to say, I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't want to have him in my fantasy team as a wide receiver like option. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would keep him as a flex, as a possible flex consideration because he does have this ability to pop off, and Amari Cooper is good. It's just like you said, we're worried about Jacoby Brissett, and it was against the Steelers this past week. It's a division game. I'd consider Amari Cooper for a flex for sure. But
I think I would too.
Super confident in him like you as well.
It's a little scary putting him in your lineup, and I would never feel good about it, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to produce for you. And then the last 2 guys we mentioned earlier, Zay Jones quietly having a really good game, high target share game. I think he got in the end zone as well. And Chris Olave, again, popping off, turning those unrealized air yards into real yards in week 3. Let's get into the tight end position. It's really ugly at the tight end position, but Mark Andrews is by far and away the tight end one, it seems like. Kelsey had a good week as well and did drop a touchdown, so that would have made his performance a lot better. But Andrews is getting, I think he's like 3rd in the league in air yards right now at the tight end spot. And that's among wide receivers as well. So he's getting targeted deep down the field, explosive plays. Really exciting to see.
Yeah, honestly, it was awesome to see him involved as much as he was. No, Mark Andrews is a beast, dude. He's so good. I really I didn't get to catch that game until the end, but Mark Andrews he's a hooper, dude. He's just out there doing what he does. David Njoku also popped off this week out of nowhere. But that's sort of what we talked about in the preseason as well with Jacoby Brissett liking to target tight ends. It just took him a while to get around to it, I guess. But
yeah, it was weird. He was like in a split with Harrison Bryant at the tight end position, and then this week they were like, nah, fuck that. Njoku's our guy. So if they keep that going forward, like Njoku, another priority ad this week for anybody that doesn't have really Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce. If you got anything else, you probably want Njoku on your team.
Yeah, I would say stonks are way up on Njoku right now. And like you said,
100%.
Kelce popped off. And Kyle Pitts. I'm not going to say we've taken off Kyle Pitts' watch at all, but he at least showed up. We can prove that he was at the game. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that was really encouraging. I think he led the team in targets and in target share.
mm-hmm.
He got outproduced by Drake London because Drake London scored a touchdown. But no, he looked really good. There was also another deep bomb that got thrown to him, but he was overthrown by Mariota. So definitely encouraging to see. If you guys happened to watch our sit start video last week, we added a new segment called Kyle Pitts or Random Waiver Wire Tight End. Kyle Pitts ended up having a good week, but he still got beat by the random waiver wire tight end Tyler Conklin. So that segment will live on into next week. Tune back in and see what happens.
Hopefully this is the last week, but who knows?
Yeah. All right, let's get into the duds. At the quarterback position, you shouldn't be surprised. Carson Wentz fucking laid an egg, dude. He's so bad. He showed his true colors. This is what Carson Wentz really is. As Commanders fans, it's almost a relief to be like, okay, I wasn't wrong. He is garbage.
Yeah, I've been saying it for weeks, bro. He's not the answer. He was never the answer. I don't know why we picked him up. I don't know why we traded a pick for him. Yeah, he's just not good. He's not good. That's all I really want to say about Carson Wentz before, all the salt and vinegar really starts coming out.
Let's move on. Fuck him.
Yeah. Two guys we didn't expect to have down weeks, but they did, unfortunately. Justin Herbert, as we said, still dealing with that rib injury, so that's definitely holding him back, as well as losing two of his offensive linemen, lost Keenan Allen, lost another receiver. It's just not looking great for the Chargers right now from a health perspective. You hope that turns around, or at least they find some way to persevere through all of this, but it's not looking amazing, to be honest with you. And we've also got Kyler Murray of the Cardinals. He threw for 314 yards, but just couldn't find the end zone this week. I don't think anybody on
didn't run at all.
Huh? Oh yeah, didn't rush at all.
He also didn't run at all, which was wild.
It's weird. And their offense didn't score a single touchdown. They had 4 field goals. I don't know what Cliff Kingsbury's doing, man.
Dude, fuck Cliff Kingsbury. All my homies hate Cliff Kingsbury. Get him out of here, man. Fire this man.
But I will say, this past week was a double XP weekend.
Yeah.
So, was Kyler studying as much as he should? Who knows?
We went back to back, man. Last week was the release of the Modern Warfare 2 beta, and now it's double XP weekend. This is a rough stretch for Kyler.
It's bad. It's looking bad for Cardinals fans. You guys got to let Activision know they got to chill out there with these releases and these drops.
That's facts, though.
And let me get on my soapbox for 1 second, bro. Just 1 second.
Let me hear it, loud and clear.
Russell Wilson is a system quarterback. Pete Carroll, best coach ever. Nathaniel Hackett, worst coach I've ever seen. Russell Wilson, what are you doing, bro? What is this? What is this? You've gone to the Super Bowl, right? You know how to play football. At the end of the day, I can get behind, there's bad play calling, it's this and that. But you're an elite quarterback. You're making $245 million. Throw the fucking ball, dude. This is ridiculous. It's getting out of hand. Like, I'm mad at this point. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous. This team should not be performing at the level that it's performing at any rate. At any rate. How do you have a team with so many good weapons? You get Russell Wilson at quarterback, and what have they been averaging in points scored for the last 3 weeks? What have they been doing? Not shit.
14 points a game.
Yeah. What is that? You got the Lions out here outscoring. You got Jared Goff out here looking like a better MVP candidate at this point than fucking Russell Wilson. How does that happen? Do you know, Eric? How does that happen? How does this happen?
I don't.
How did any of this Broncos situation go down?
I bow down to you. That was very well said. All of what you said, super valid. I was listening to the Fantasy Footballers and their podcast yesterday, and they were saying, like, in shallow leagues, in one quarterback shallow leagues, like, do you drop Russell Wilson?
I'm thinking about
it. And, like, if you see him on the wire, like, obviously your interest is going to be piqued. You're going to be like, oh, Russell Wilson is available. But, like, should you even pick him up at this point? I don't know, man.
I don't think you should. Honestly, I'm considering
It's
dropping him.
crazy.
I'm considering dropping him.
Crazy.
I have him in 2 leagues. One league, I'm kind of fucked because I picked Russell and I was like, yeah, he's all I really need. He was a late round pick. He looked like he was going to be an amazing value, and he's turning out to be a terrible value. I should have just waited till round 10 to pick a quarterback. I should have picked Jared Goff. I'd be in a better spot.
You would, yeah.
Fuck, dude, it's ridiculous. And Matt Stafford is fucking.
He's so mad. Yeah, Stafford's having a rough go of it. Are you mad just because of A-Rob?
Yes. Yes.
He's also on this does list. If you want to just skip to receivers, we can put you right back on your soapbox. Let's go.
This is the craziest display of incompetency, ineptitude. Every word that starts with "in" that applies to this situation, I can apply it to Matt Stafford and this Allen Robinson situation. There have been, I'm in several different group chats for fantasy football, and I have yet to see a single one where someone hasn't put the message in, hey, A-Rob on the block, except for ours, just because I haven't taken the time to type that message out yet, because I just know no one's going to want them, so there's no point in me putting them on there.
Nobody cares.
I could say, I don't even know, because if I said Isaiah McKenzie's on the block, more people would be interested than fucking Allen Robinson, the number 2 wide receiver on the Super Bowl defending team, who's still, and I can't say it's because, they can't get the ball out to anyone, because Cooper Kupp is still doing well. I don't understand what the disconnect is for this team. Now, Cooper Kupp did have a rushing touchdown last week, not a receiving touchdown, but that's just my way of saying they can get people involved in this offense. It doesn't have to be Cooper Kupp that's always the most hyper involved at all times.
So let me say, I don't think anything that you're saying is wrong. I think that he probably should be more involved. But
okay,
last week they drew up a play for him in the red zone. It was like a quick slant, like in the end zone, straight through his fucking hands. I don't know if you saw that, but it was just a stone cold drop that would have been a touchdown for A-Rob.
Allen Robinson doesn't deserve any more opportunities in this league. He's done. He's cooked. Get him out of there.
All right. Let's run through some more of these duds real quick. We got Alvin Kamara at the running back position. Let's make this a little bit quicker. Concern level 1 to 10, Alvin Kamara.
8.
Oof. Yeah, I think I'm probably in that same range. I was going to say 7.
Yeah.
He's still, the usage is there. He's still highly involved, but the opportunities just haven't shown themselves. And when he's gotten the ball, it hasn't been great. Obviously, he's not getting the same passing game involvement that we had hoped, but we kind of, we had been talking about that all offseason as well. Mm-hmm. Definitely nervous as a Kamara owner going forward. Austin Eckler, 1 to 10.
Also an 8. May even be a 9.
Yeah. I think I might be more concerned with Austin Eckler. His passing game involvement is definitely there, and so that's encouraging to see, especially if you're in a PPR league. What did he have? 5 yards? Like 4 carries for 5 yards this past week?
Yeah, it was really bad.
It was awful. Part of it is usage and involvement. Josh Kelly and Sony Michel are getting more work in like short yardage, red zone, and just early down work, but he hasn't been efficient when he's touched the ball on the ground. At least I think he's so far for the season averaging under 3 yards a carry.
Yeah, I think out of everybody on this list, it's probably Austin Eckler the most, just because he's the one that acknowledges fantasy football the most out of everyone, and he's the one that's underperforming the most out of everyone.
Yeah.
But I mean,
super unfortunate.
Obviously, it's not his fault strictly, but it's like, don't even fucking bring up fantasy. Don't you purse your lips to talk about fantasy football. Yeah, don't talk to me.
All right, let's keep it going. James Conner, 1 to 10.
It's like a 6, maybe a 5. I mean, James Conner's doing what we thought he was going to do before the season started.
This is one where, like, it's not even really on him. He's not efficient. We didn't think he was going to be efficient. He's dealt with some injuries. We expected him to deal with some injuries. It's just that the offense isn't as good as we hoped it would be.
Yeah.
He will score more touchdowns if the team scores more touchdowns. The usage is there. It's just the team's not very good right now. Joe Mixon had himself a down week. Any sort of concern level there?
Nah, Joe Mixon's maybe, if I'm concerned at all, it's maybe a 2 or a 3, and that's strictly from an injury perspective. If he's on the field, I'm completely confident in him, especially in the fact that they've been giving him more receiving work this year, too. Like, I kind of predicted that they would a little bit, you know?
You did.
I did.
I didn't believe you. I'll give you a ton of credit there. I was not buying into that. He had been in the league for, 4 or 5 years, and they had never used him in the passing game like that. I didn't buy it, but you were totally right. It's really, really good to see him used in the passing game.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so I'm not really concerned about Joe Mixon. Just hope he comes back healthy. Miles Sanders, I ask you this one. Miles Sanders, scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you?
Not concerned.
Yeah.
Again, a similar range, like 2, 1. He was still clearly the lead dog in that backfield. It just didn't turn into a touchdown. He got a decent amount of rushing opportunities. Washington's D-line is like maybe the only thing they got going for him, their run-stopping ability.
Yeah, it's pretty stout.
And so he didn't get a ton of yards, and he didn't get in the end zone. I'm not worried. He'll be fine going forward.
Agreed. And then Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, that situation, how concerned are you? Or do you want to do them
they played
separately?
It's fairly similar for me. Like, Aaron Jones has still been hyper efficient. I think he's still the more talented back. But they're going to split it pretty much 50-50. I just think they played a tough Tampa Bay defense, one of the best defenses in the league. They don't give up a lot of rushing yards. They're stingy on the back end, too. So you just didn't see much from him. Again, we talked about this with Aaron Jones last week. We had him kind of as like a tentative sell high, not because we didn't think that he was going to have more boom weeks, but because we know he can have these types of down weeks. So I wasn't super surprised, especially in this matchup. So I'm not crazy concerned, but it's going to be up and down when you're in an offense that's just not as great as it has been in previous years with the Packers.
Yeah, if you got Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon, you signed up for a roller coaster. So we're going to see how that one turns out. I have both of them, so I signed up for a huge roller coaster. And then out of the wide receivers, some underperformers, starting it off with Jay Jettas. Not something we weren't expecting. Kind of 2 down weeks in a row out of Jay Jettas. What is your concern level with Jay Jettas?
0 concern. You can't be concerned with a guy as talented as he is, and he's still the focal point of the offense. He was on the field for 100% of Kirk Cousins' dropbacks. It's not like he's not involved. Surprisingly, though, Jeff Okudah, who he was matched up on, is like having a really, really good year, and he's turning into somebody that you should pay attention to when it comes to fantasy matchups. He's locked down like some number 1 receivers for the past 3 weeks. So I think that that's something you should take into account. Also, I think that they just bracketed him the whole game. So it made it really tough to get him the ball.
Yeah, I think it was one of those situations where like they locked up Jay Jettas, but at the expense of, Adam Thielen popping off and having a good game. It was just they were mitigating the damage essentially. We got DJ Metcalf. Scale of 1 to 10, how concerned would you be about
DJ Moore?
What did I say? I said DJ Metcalf? Holy
DJ
shit.
Metcalf.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's making it in the final cut. My bad.
Hell yeah.
DJ
Moore.
But
nah,
God damn.
DJ Moore, the alarm bell should be going off. Blah, blah, blah. 10, dude. 11, as high as you can go, dude. I don't want him. I don't know. Is he in the Darnell Mooney category? Can we drop him at this point? Baker Mayfield fucking sucks. Matt Rule, another guy that should be fired immediately.
Yeah.
What are we doing in Carolina?
I don't know, man. They're just kind of doing whatever. I got no real analysis for Carolina.
That's probably what Matt Rule's saying in fucking team meetings. When they get to halftime and they're down, they're like, man, fuck it. Just play football. What are you guys doing? That's Matt Rule.
Guys, we got to do something. Somebody do something. And that somebody is not DJ Moore. I'm sorry. He can probably be dropped, honestly. If you can get any trade value out of DJ Moore, maybe there's someone out there in your league that's hopeful. Maybe, but yeah, he's not doing shit. Not doing a goddamn thing. We got Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. I honestly, I knew he's on the list. I didn't know shit about the Texans this week. I didn't really look into them. How did they do this week? I'm sure you could speak on this one a little more.
So Brandon Cooks specifically, well, they played the Bears and they lost to the Bears, which is so embarrassing. I don't know how the fuck anybody loses to the Bears. But yeah, Brandon Cooks only scored, I think, like 2 points or 3 points in half PPR scoring. This is more along the lines of what I envisioned, like just week to week inconsistency from Brandon Cooks. Even with his usage as high as it is and his target share up there, I just didn't expect him to be able to continue to be consistent from week to week. I'm not super concerned going forward because he's still going to get targeted a lot, but it's just something that's going to come with starting Brandon Cooks.
It's actually really funny because I was like, I didn't watch this game, so I don't know. It was the Bears-Texans game. Why would I watch that?
Yeah, nobody should have watched that game.
Yeah. But, I mean, like you said, he had 7 targets, only turned that into 2 catches for 22 yards. It's a very not great day. Maybe some weeks he'll get you 7 points, you know?
Maybe.
That's about it.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Up next on the Duds list is Gabe Davis. His underlying metrics were really good. He was actually on the field the most of any of these receivers for Josh Allen's dropbacks. For me, I think this was more of a decoy situation. I think he's still recovering from the ankle injury, and he wasn't 100%. I think you could tell. And so they were just trying to put him out there to get, people to cover him. I don't know. Are you concerned about this at all?
No. It's like you said, if he's on the field at the price that you drafted him for, unless you're one of those people who drafted Gabe Davis and also later got like an Amon-Ra St. Brown or something like that, he's probably someone you're going to be starting. It's just he's got too much opportunity, and you just hope that this turns around next week, especially with this team trying to bounce back off of a loss that nobody really saw coming either. So, yeah, I'm not really super concerned. If I had to give a 1 to 10, I would give it maybe a 3, but that's generally where I'm at with Gabe Davis just because of who he is as a player in general. But his situation, you have to play him, really.
No, totally agree. I think even when healthy, he's going to be boom bust. But yeah, you play him because when he booms, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
In this same game, Tyreek also had a very down game, underperformed quite a bit. I'm not worried at all. I don't think that you are either.
No, it was how the game ended up shaking out. It's like we had talked about before. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are essentially two of the same people in this offense. So last week we got the rare opportunity where both boom, but I think oftentimes it's going to be them trading off, at least in close games for sure.
And then the last position, tight end. Darren Waller and George Kittle both kind of underperformed. Darren Waller dropped what I think I don't know if it would have been game winning or game tying.
Would have been the game.
I can't remember.
2-point conversion, right? Is that the one you
was
talking
it
about at the end of the game?
I can't remember if it was the 2-point conversion or the touchdown. Now I'm getting it all confused. But he dropped something in the end zone that would have definitely helped his fantasy day. This was just a bad showing by the Raiders offense. I am not sure if I can say that they're going to bounce back, though. They don't look great. What are your thoughts on Waller going forward?
See, it's tough, man, because I like Darren Waller, and as rough as this tight end position has been, you kind of got to start him. But going forward, I don't see this team being super duper successful outside of like the guys like Devonte Adams or Hunter Renfro or Mac Hollins or even Darren Waller could see some level of success. It's sort of weird because they have a lot of people they can throw the ball to now as opposed to last year where it was only Darren Waller they could really get it to and Hunter Renfro. And I think that's kind of hurting his outlook on the rest of the season.
Yeah. If we were to do concern level on this one, I'd probably be in like the 4 or 5 range. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that like isn't encouraging, but I think 2 weeks ago, Derek Carr missed Waller, who was wide open in the end zone, and then this week he drops one in the end zone. I think better days are ahead, but again, it's going to be a roller coaster. Like it is with really any tight end. Same as George Kittle. What are your thoughts here? With Jimmy G as the quarterback, I think that it probably benefits him a little bit, but obviously the offense scoring 10 points isn't gonna help.
I have to say, like, I'm not super scared about George Kittle. Like, if I had to give a 1 to 10, I'd probably go with like a 2 or 3. But that's just based on, Jimmy G has to play well. This team has to play better than they did. They lost Trent Williams, so that's not great for George Kittle's outlook. But also with what he was given this game, 5 targets, he turned 4 of those into catches for only 28 yards. But, I mean, this was George Kittle's first game back as well. So I'm not super concerned about George Kittle. He somehow always kind of finds a way back into this offense, even when things are looking bad. But I'm not also super confident in it. But like I said before, this tight end position has been really, really bad across the board. So it's at least worth seeing for one more week if he can sort of turn this around, which I think they can. But fuck the Broncos, dude. I'm sorry. They caught a stray off of that. Fuck the Broncos.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Patience for George Kittle. So let's get into our last segment here. We'll wrap it up shortly. We got our buy low, sell high segment again. I just want to do a little recap from last week because I think we did pretty well. We said buy Kyle Pitts if anybody was selling low. I know there probably weren't a lot of people that were ready to jump ship, but if you did find somebody that was, really encouraging sign this week. What did he go? 4 for 82. High target share.
5 for 87. So I think he ended up
5 for 87.
Snuck in a 5th catch at the end.
Okay. So yeah, he's looking good going forward. We did put Dalvin on here last week. He had a good game, and if he didn't have to come out for the shoulder injury, he might not have gotten that touchdown that Madison scored vultured from him. He might have had an even bigger week. So injury kind of hurt us there, but I think that was a good call from us on that one. Derrick Henry, another guy that is bouncing back. Chris Olave, that was huge. I think that was easily our best call of the week. And then we did have Treyland Burks on there. Treyland Burks did have a down game, but I'm putting him right back in the same buy low category because his underlying metrics were fantastic. His route participation went all the way up from 60% to 96%. So he's another guy that I think just extended his buy low window. I'm definitely trying to get him for like a low-end flex type player if you can.
Yeah, bro. And just imagine how much he's going to boom when Malik Willis is starting at quarterback too. Ryan Tannehill gets burnt. He gets benched.
You can't go a week without mentioning it, dude. I love it.
And in terms of our sales from last week, we had Aaron Jones, which kind of still is looking like a good call at this point. It's like we said, it's not because Aaron Jones is bad. It's not because he can't have boom weeks, but it's because we don't know how often those are going to come. And the down weeks can be really down. And if you don't want to deal with that, you could probably still give Aaron Jones away and get a good return back for it. Possibly.
Yeah. A lot of times with these sell highs, it's not because we think that these players are going to suck the rest of the season. It's just if you can get a haul for him, like with Aaron Jones coming off of his massive, 30 or 35 point game, whatever it was, if you could have turned that into like a solidified top end RB1 or wide receiver 1, then that would have been a good turnaround, I think.
Absolutely. And then we also had J-Rob, which isn't looking like the best sell high. He's still
we'll take the L.
Yeah, he's still playing really well so far. And then we got the best sell high on this list still, Mr. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going right back on it. I'll talk about him later.
Yep.
But
we can get to him. But yeah, we'll run through these buy lows real quick. So obviously we said Treyland Burks, talked about him. Breece Hall, another guy. He had like a 35% target share from the running back spot last week, which is nuts. Zach Wilson is expected to come back, so I don't see the checkdowns happening quite as often, but this was the first week that Breece Hall overtook Michael Carter in terms of snaps and just, overall play on the field. So I think that that's going to continue going forward. Breece Hall has looked really good. If you can grab him somewhat cheaply now, I think that's going to be a good investment going forward.
Yeah, very much agreed.
And then you
take
take it, brother.
No, you go ahead, bro. You got it.
This one's near and dear because I have him on my teams and I know he's going to bounce back. Uncle Lenny, baby. His usage is out of this world, dude. He's on the field for every passing down. He's getting almost all of the rushing work. He's never coming off the field. It's just that the offensive line is still coming back from, the injuries. The wide receivers aren't on the field, so this offense isn't rolling the same way that they were going to. I don't expect them to be as good as they were last year, really, at any point. I think that they've just taken a little bit of a step back, but they're definitely going to be better than they have been these first few weeks. And once they get rolling, Lenny is going to be a monster. He's going to be right back in that RB1 territory, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lombardi Lenny, he's the truth, man. So you gotta pay attention to it. And then we got Gabe Davis also on a buy low. Just for the same shit that we talked about earlier. It's just based purely on his situation. He's got so much opportunity. Last week he had a down week. Like we said, we feel like it was more of a decoy role. He's still recovering from that injury, but when he bounces back, he's bouncing right back into that wide receiver 2 role for this offense.
Yeah. Not much more to be said there. If you can go grab those guys, would highly recommend. And then, like Will said, coming right back on the list again is CEH as a sell high. I don't know how he keeps getting these crazy stat lines and getting in the end zone. He had 7 rushes for 0 yards and a rushing touchdown. I don't know how he's doing it, man. It doesn't make any sense.
It literally makes at the point that he had scored his touchdown at, he had 5 rushes for -1 yards and a touchdown. So it's just, I think at this point it's just the universe trying to just make fun of me for saying sell Clyde Edwards-Helaire every week, but I'm gonna keep saying it because the numbers that he is putting up make 0 sense. They make 0 sense.
None.
From a fantasy perspective, and it's not something you can be confident in. But if you want to be one of those people that keeps starting Clyde in spite of me and he keeps doing well, more power to you, But he's not touching any of my teams ever. And then we got
total agreement there.
Then we got Mr. Damien Harris, who we talked about a little bit earlier as well. He's kind of proven to be touchdown dependent within this offense. That's where he gets a huge bulk of his fantasy points. And Ramadri Stevenson's role is starting to increase in this offense, especially with Ty Montgomery out and just the games that this offense finds themselves in that they got to keep getting themselves back into games. So.
Yeah. This is for all the same reasons that we mentioned at the top of the show. New quarterback, they're probably not going to be in as many scoring positions. He needs those scoring opportunities to be fantasy relevant. So I think he's going to start to get phased out a little bit. So if you can get him for a reasonable flex option, I think that's probably a good thing to do.
Yep.
So that will wrap us up. Thank you for sticking with us. We appreciate you. Hope you gained some valuable information. Hopefully you got to laugh with us a little bit. I had some fun with this one. So if you liked it, drop a like. That helps us out tremendously. Give us a subscribe. Be here so you can check out all of our videos coming down the pipeline for this week and for weeks going forward. Leave us some comments as well. Tell us, why we're wrong, why we're right. Leave your sit starts, any of that stuff. We love to help you guys out. We love to have a community, talk with you guys. So please do all that good YouTube stuff. Will, you got anything else left to say to the people before we get out of here?
Nah, man. Love y'all for watching this far. And also, if you're in the comments, if you drafted Christian Kirk, make sure you drop a thank you, Will and Eric, down in the comments. Because we may have secured you one of the best fantasy assets, one of the best fantasy values. Hope to keep bringing you guys more content like that and keep the train rolling. So, like Eric said, be involved, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell, and we will see you guys again later this week.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning again. I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.